A few days I was talking to a friend of mine. She is 37, I'm 27, and we have 10 years of difference in the context of the matrix, in the context of the human reality. And she looked at me and she told me, I wish I had known all of the things that you know at your age. What she meant is she wanted to know the Hermetic principles, the way that this reality is designed, the mechanics of the universe, if you wish, the understanding that you're not just a body, a piece of meat, but you are the operator of this avatar, of this temporary suit, costume, if you wish, that you just rented for this life. And that life is purely for fun. That you're not here to struggle, you're not here to prove your worth, and so on and so on. And I could have taken it as a compliment, but it opened a very deep conversation. And I want to ask you a question. What if the number that you have in your passport has nothing to do with the way that you perceive your reality? What if it literally means nothing? I want to talk about the concept of the soul age, right? Every consciousness, every human being, every soul who is entering the simulation. So when I'm saying simulation, I'm just referring to the Earth, the planet, right? Where we humans live right now. And you enter with a history. And this is not like a biological history, but it's more about your soul history. Let's call this like the number of cycles that you have incarnated, maybe on Earth, maybe like in other realities. I'm not like trying to say that I know exactly about like other realities. This is just purely conceptual. Like, think like high level. We don't have to go and find out if this is like the correct way of looking at it, right? So let me paint the example of the old souls, or like souls with experience. Have you ever noticed, or maybe you've heard somewhere, maybe you've seen somewhere, some people in their life, it looks like they understand the principle of this reality. Even at a young age, they do understand everything. They do not need authorities, they do not need instructions, and they just like feel the principles of this reality, the spiritual principles, the foundational principles, right? And it's more like they are not really like learning these principles, they are remembering, because there's technically nothing that you can learn. Everything exists in the mind of the infinite consciousness, right? If everything is this infinite potential, there's literally nothing that you are creating. You are just remembering. You are manifesting from your consciousness into the reality, right? And then on the other hand, we have the sleepers, the bots, 99.9% of people. And these people, they live what I would call like the normal, the bot life, right? Not conscious, not self-aware, and they just live like 60, 70 years, and they never like question themselves. Is this even real? Am I just the body or something more, right? And it's funny because some people believe that they should be respected just for the amount of years that they spent on this planet, right? But it doesn't work like this. It doesn't really matter how much money you have. It doesn't really matter how many years you've lived, right? Because it doesn't reflect your level of consciousness, right? So respecting someone is kind of basic. It's like basic common sense. But But when you start buying into the beliefs of other people, just because they lived longer, or just because they said, yeah, you know, like, I've seen my life, like, I lived X amount of years, right? This is not good. I mean, it's not helpful. Because reality is, your age says nothing about the depth of your understanding, about the depth of your consciousness, right? Your age is just, well, it's just a reflection of this illusionary human time. But it doesn't answer the deeper questions, right? And this is where a lot of people get into this trap, right? You look, let's say you look at successful people, you know, I think like billionaires, the elite, how they call it, oh, like this guy is pretty old, he might be experienced, or she might be experienced, right? And the system, the matrix, it is intentionally making you believe that age means something, but it means nothing. It means nothing, because this is all just monkey games, just to support the hierarchy and just to keep people asleep, right? And this is what I would call the non-linear consciousness. Your consciousness, your level of understanding, it is not about the age, how many years you've lived. It's more about your understanding, because one moment, one decision, one realization that you come to, it can be worth more than the amount of years that you spent on this planet, right? If you've been sleeping and you've been living like a bot, like a pathetic little bitch, like believing into all the lies of the matrix, into the death, into the time that you have limited amount of years on this planet, that you have limited amount of time, and you know, all this garbage, the scarcity mindset that the system wants you to stay at, right? And I want to talk to the younger generation right now. So people about like my age, 20 and 30. It's pretty interesting that, you know, if you look at how the modern society is developing right now, like the Gen Z, say, right? I'm technically would be Gen Z. They are different. And including myself, I just remember that I never took it from the system. I never took on the beliefs into like all that garbage, like economics, politics, all this bullshit, right? So the scale of your, we could say, level of consciousness, it is not limited by the number you have in your passport. You know what's the biggest, and like I would say the most interesting idea? There's really nothing more powerful than a mental state, right? How would you feel if you, I'm gonna say something, give you an example. So a lot of people are mentally masturbating to like getting X amount of money or getting X results in the business, in the career. But at the end of the day, a lot of people get to these materialistic goals and they still feel miserable, right? And the moment that you remove all that, you know, you remove the authorities, and especially that age authority, and you just look at how people think, you start putting anyone on above yourself. The individual who is able to control their mind, control their intention, and the one who understands the principle of this reality, right? is the individual who's going to be controlling the reality. If you can control your mind, you can control the reality. So now, how would you feel if you have like bigger balls than, you know, billionaires, just because you are occupying the state of consciousness that is more free than someone with billions? Your age and your consciousness, they do not correlate. You can be a retard at 20 years old and you can be a retard at 70 years old, right? There's technically nothing different. The only thing that matters, do you really understand how this reality operates at a fundamental level? Have you faced the beliefs that the Matrix is trying to install into your brain like a virus? If you've been broken by the system and you are occupying a state of, you know, like being a victim, you know, this world is unfair, this and that, you know, just like a random example, right? Even the age itself is illusion because there's no time. How can it be time? The thing is, even like scientists, they cannot answer a question. What is time even? What does time even mean? They're trying to measure infinite consciousness and put it into a tiny box, which is this just ridiculous, right? So age is an illusion, right? It's like a technical thing that we have in the simulation, obviously, you know. But if you go deeper, age means nothing. Age means nothing. You can be enlightened at, you know, any age, and you can be a retard at any age. Now, the next thing that I want to give you is the idea to reflect on is consciousness. It is not a product of your brain. And this is where a lot of people might get tripped up because, you know, scientists, they are researching like the brain is the thing creating consciousness. No, that's ridiculous. Brain is like a radio receiver and consciousness is like a signal, right? A receiver can wear out, but the signal itself, it's timeless, right? So the brain, the planet Earth, everything exists inside consciousness. Your body exists inside consciousness. It's like everything is just part of one. Obviously, you know, you can experience different people, you can travel, you technically can feel, and this is the biggest mistake, that people feel like they are separated from their realities. So there's like me and there is the outside reality, but it could not be further from the truth, right? So now let me give you the timeline shift. If you can see the architecture of this reality, if you become an architect, the operant power of your reality at, let's say, like 25, you just extended your perceived time on this planet way more than someone who woke up, let's say, at 50, right? You have way more time being conscious than someone who has discovered these principles at like 50, 60, right? You have more time to actually, like, you have more quality time to invest in things that you want to do in this reality. Whatever is the thing that you are doing. And the difference is most people are gonna stay asleep till like 50, 60, and some people are never gonna wake up. It's like, I don't even understand what's the point of living like a bot when you're not self-aware, when you're not thinking, you're not asking questions, you're not like even interested in understanding and finding out how this reality is designed, how it works, right? Now, for the older souls, like for people who are older, it doesn't mean that you are blocked from this knowledge, but it's just something that you can sit and reflect about, because information about this reality, it's abundant. Everything is like you can find for free in the internet. There's really nothing hidden. You can learn everything about the meaning of life, how this universe was created, the spiritual principles behind the universe. And once you understand, it's like, wow, your interaction with this reality becomes so different you wouldn't be able to imagine, right? And for, again, one more time, for people who are a little bit older who are watching this, yes, you know what? I'm gonna make you feel a little bit uncomfortable. You might feel sad because you might feel like, wow, there are some people who know more about the reality at, say, like 25, 30 than I know at like 50, 60, right? That might be sad, but consciousness doesn't have an expiry date, right? You can wake up anytime. You can wake up anytime and create the exact reality that you want. So age means nothing. Age means nothing. Because the truth is, if you're young and you see the whole game when everyone else is sleeping, it's not like you're arrogant. It's not like you are too naive and too young to see like the realistic point of view, right? Some people just naturally wake up earlier. So think about this. You're not limited by your age. You cannot die. Yes, I mean, technically you're gonna end this game probably earlier than someone else, but you cannot die. You cannot die. So if this video has resonated and if you want to wake up from the simulation and you want to get paid to exist doing what you love, click and watch this video next here.